Hello, hello. Welcome back to Chop It Up with R and K. Oh my gosh, you guys, we are so happy you are back with us. And first and foremost, before we even begin, this weekend we celebrated Mother's Day, and we want to just make sure we shout out all the mothers, all the warriors.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day. Roxanne, what did you do over the weekend, girl?
Listen, I'm typically not the one to go out on Mother's Day per se. I usually go out either before or after, just because it's too much craziness. You know, the restaurants are packed. Then when you get the food has to go back to the kitchen 2 or 3 times because it's either undercooked, overcooked. And, you know, I like when I get my food, it's ready to eat, and I don't want to have to, bother the chef in any way because you never know what you get the second time around.
That's right.
So I try to be as calm and pleasant as possible when it comes to my food, but, it was very relaxing. Hubby cooked at home, and, we just chopped it up, and, my daughter and I laid back. She came in, brought me my little Mother's Day gifts. She's just the sweetest thing. My baby is so sweet. I just love her to death. And then my middle daughter, she called, she zelled me some money. I'm like, listen, you could have just bought me a nice card and I would have been so happy.
Right.
Okay? But they're always over the top. So I appreciate them, love them to death, so that was my Mother's Day.
That's amazing. Well, happy Mother's Day to you. And we are so happy you had a good time. Yes. Oh, yes. Well, you know what? Before further ado, we're going to jump right into it. Listen, you guys, we have an amazing special guest this evening with us on this episode. We are so honored to hear his story. And this is a reason, Roxanne, this is a reason why we started this podcast, really connecting with dope people in the community and people that's changing lives, especially on a grassroots level. So we are so excited. This is a special edition because we know it's Mother's Day. So we got to make sure we give you guys something good for the soul. All right, Roxanne, right?
Listen, food for the soul. We always like to keep it real here. So raw and uncut and unfiltered. So we're definitely going to dive right into speaking to Donald. So, Kamisha, why don't you give us the honors of introducing our special guest this evening, and, let's take it from there. We want to give him enough time to share his story and, straight to the chase.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. It's my honor. So as I said, you guys, we have a special guest this evening. Super honored. I met this guy. Oh my gosh, you guys, y'all already know. I met this guy, Roxanne, on a whim. It was a funny story, but we're going to save that for another time. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I was so happy that I met him because we really chopped it up and had a great conversation. Very, very organic. So we want to thank you, certainly, Mr. Turner, for being here. And without further ado, I would love to share his bio so that everyone can get a little background about who he is. Okay, Mr. Donald Turner is a teacher assistant for the Department of Education, District 75 here in New York City. He holds an associate degree in business management with the Long Island Institute. In his current position, he works directly with special needs students as a paraprofessional. Mr. Donald migrated from the beautiful islands of Jamaica, that's right, Spicy Island, at the young age of 16. During his early childhood, he attended Cobble Hill High School. While he was enrolled, he loved playing music. His favorite genre of music, of course, is dancehall, and he loves dancehall, and I do as well. It reminded him of back home, plus it was deeply bedded into his DNA. His favorite artist of all time has to be Barris Hammond. He absolutely loves his music, his style, and everything that he encompasses. Mr. Turner's early childhood, he recalled managing his dad's tire shop after school. His fondest memory of him and his dad bonding together was learning for the first time how to change car brakes with his dad. He said to me that's his fondest memory because as a child, he did not grow up with his dad. Each day, Donald, Mr. Turner, works with students with varied disabilities. However, he teaches them to be fearless and truly believe that there is no limit to one's determined success despite their adversities and disability. Mr. Turner, it's an honor. It's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to Chop It Up with R&K.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome bio and intro. So I'm excited and I want to just delve right in. So coming from the old country of Jamaica, how was your transition from Jamaica into the United States?
It was, I came here in the winter, so
Oh gosh.
so
I know you wanted to jump
Virgin.
back on a
it
plane
was
and
rough.
get back home,
Yeah,
right?
it was rough. So
Yeah.
yeah, I never, because like I said, I came in the winter and the cold, like I wasn't used to it. So it was dreadful for me.
Mhm.
Not dreadful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it
As,
was,
as
yeah.
it,
I
as
didn't
it
like
was,
it, period,
as it was
but
for many of us on this call, because we're all from the island. So when you come or you experience your first winter here, it's like, listen, can I jump back on a plane and go home?
exactly, exactly.
Okay, so you made the adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay. So come on, give us some insight into, you know, what brought you here, your childhood. I mean, Kamisha already kind of gave me a little bit of insight as to why we're having you on this
Yeah.
evening. So I just want to get a little background as to, you know, what brought you to the United States. I know we're all, you know, our parents brought us here at a young age looking for a better life. You know, what did you envision for yourself coming here? What was your goals, dreams, and aspirations? And, you know, then transition us to that incident, right?
Yeah, well, I came here, like I said, I came here when I was 6, because my dad left Jamaica from when I was a baby, so I didn't really know him too much.
Okay.
So I met, so he bought me out when I was 16, and I started working with him in the tire shop.
Okay.
So because like he owned a tire shop, so I started working with him, and he's teaching me the ropes.
Okay.
Teaching me everything. So I become like very, very like good at fixing cars. So
Mhm.
it become to a point where I like take over the shop because I was that good
From the
fixing.
from the apprentice to the expert in the tire shop.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
then from the tire shop, I understand that you're now a paraprofessional.
Yeah.
Okay. And what grades do you teach?
Right now I'm in high school right now. I'm in ninth grade.
Okay.
I'm teaching ninth grade right now.
Have you always taught ninth graders?
Now this is my first time.
Okay, so quite an eye opener, especially now during COVID and
Yeah.
you know video web conferencing school lessons, right?
Yeah. I used to teach what grade were they? They were fifth grade. I was in fifth grade. So and no, because of the COVID, okay, a lot of the teachers staying home.
Mm,
So they need people in the high school. So
okay.
they asked me to go there. I was nervous at first because I never deal with those bigger kids before.
Right, the older kids, right?
Yeah, but now
They can be
I'm
quite
there.
challenging, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but I'm comfortable with it, and I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
Awesome.
New,
Awesome.
I'm enjoying it.
Well, Donna, we are so happy that you're enjoying it. We just want to jump right into this conversation because, you know, this conversation is a heavy one. It's about what is your legacy? What is your legacy? And we talk a lot about legacy, especially as we are dealing with COVID and with isolation. So much that's compounded. And Roxanne and I spoke about, you know, this episode, and it was a really episode where we shared a lot. And we had a conversation, you and I, Donna, about the incident, what happened to you. And I asked you, what motivates you? What keeps you in the game? What keeps you going to work, getting up every day and inspiring your students? And I would like you to talk about that. Talk about what has happened, what type of adversity you face that really struck you to the core and that could have broken you, but you chose to overcome it.
Okay. All right. So when I was 17 years old, I was shot, and I was shot in my arm and my foot.
Mm,
And I so much my father. My father got killed. So I watched my father get killed right in front of me. But I just, and after that, like 3 weeks later, I end up with a stroke. They say I was stressing too much about my father, so I end up with a stroke.
Wow.
So I end up in like rehab for like a whole year, almost 2 years.
And you
I
were
couldn't, I could not like, huh?
You were 18 years old at the time?
No, at that time I was 17.
17 and you had a stroke?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, 17, yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. So in those moments, because talk about the incident, talk about what happened, because, there's so much going on in our community, especially even now as we all live in and reside in New York City. Well, I know, Roxanne, you're not quite in New York City, but there's so much crime. There's a influx of crime. Like, what has your experience been during that encounter? Like, how was it for you? How terrified you were as a teen and having to see your dad bleed out in front of you or bled out in front of you?
I mean, it was like nerve shocking.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's thinking about it. Yeah.
I'm trying to pull some things out, right? So what led up to that? You said you saw your dad get murdered in front of you. Like, what led up to that? Did he have prior, history with these individuals, or just a random act and you happened to be? I mean, if
like I say, he owned a business,
right?
And they came in to like rob the business.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay.
So just a random act. People know he perhaps had some money in the shop, and they came in. Wow. And this is all here in the States or back home in Jamaica?
In Brooklyn.
Wow.
In Brooklyn. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So so you saw this. What was your reaction? How did you respond?
Well, I got shot. He got shot. He fell. So I got shot just in my hand and foot. So I was still able to move around.
Okay.
So
wow.
and plus another friend outside, my friend outside that got shot as well.
Wow.
So
wow.
So like I went outside to check on my friend, and I realized that he died.
Oh,
on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went back in.
So how did you end up in rehab? Talk about your experience with rehab. And again, our condolences to you and your family and even your friend's family who also passed. What was the healing process for you? How was that? I know you spoke about almost 2 years in rehab.
Yeah. Well, after I got shot and I came out of the hospital, right after my father's funeral, I end up having a stroke. So and end up have to go back in the hospital.
Wow.
And I was in like a coma for like 2 days, I think. 2 days in a coma, and
God bless.
And then I was over there by like Kings County Hospital in a coma, and then I leave the hospital and I went to NYU and in like rehab for like 2 years.
Wow.
So I went in there, couldn't like sit up, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do nothing I couldn't do anything for myself. But I was determined to walk out of there whenever the time come from to leave. I was determined to walk out.
I mean,
that's what I did.
That's remarkable, because most people might have saw their dad or a loved one being murdered and would have given up, blaming themselves. They call it survivor's remorse. Right? Like, why didn't I just die too? But you were determined. So what was that determination to make you, walk again? What was that, what was that driving force?
to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
my first, like I was like the 6 months in the rehab,
Mm-hmm.
I see other people in the rehab who was in better condition than me. And when they was leaving in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to walk out of here.
Okay. So
And I use that
It's
to
motivation.
yeah, I use that. I use that to motivate me. And that's what I did. I walk out of here.
wow,
Yeah.
that is so
Amazing.
wonderful. Yes.
You know, Roxanne, when Mr. Turner told me that story, I was just so moved. I said, I have to bring him on to share with others because it's such a powerful story about resiliency, right? And just not letting, you know, your story be told or be written by someone else, you know, and it brought me back to a situation in my life when I was a child, not so traumatic, but it was traumatic at the time. I actually had food poisoning. And Roxanne, no, my family, my parents, they didn't know what happened, where it came from. I didn't even have any vivid, you know, memory of what happened. But I also ended up in a hospital for over a month. Over a month and change. I was not eating. I couldn't eat. And I lost a lot of weight. And you're in a children's unit, and like, you know, Donald, you're looking at all the kids around you, and some were, you know, burnt, you know, there were kids were in dire situation than you. And like he said, when he spoke about, you know, wanting to leave and leave on his own terms, I could relate to that because I remember being a kid and be like, no, I want to get out of here. And so that story, your story really moved me, and it made me remember my own childhood. I don't know if it's trauma to call it, but it just made me remember that time in my life that I was so uncertain because my family didn't know, my parents, I wasn't eating for weeks on weeks. The doctors didn't know, and it was just a really scary time. But you know, I wanted to ask you, what is your legacy? For many people, you know, a story like this, losing your dad at such a young age, you know, and having to really, and also you're in a foreign land. Yeah, you're in a foreign land. You didn't go down the wrong path. You didn't look for vengeance, right? You didn't look for vengeance. You didn't turn to drugs or the street life. What is your legacy? Like, why didn't you not go the other way? And what would you like others to know about you? What would your legacy be if today was your last?
Yeah, well,
I know it's a big, powerful, like,
yeah. Well, the reason why I didn't really go the wrong way because I grew up seeing like my friends and family like go in the wrong way, and I always have that in me, like I'm not gonna do that. Like that's not me. So even though I've been through all that, I'm not gonna make that define me. Why that's not me. So I'm not gonna do that.
So Donald, you're at an age, you're teaching young men and women at an age where violence and gun violence is so prevalent among that age group. How have you changed your demeanor or you're being able to be relatable to them, right? From that experience, right? Can they relate to you? Do you share your story with them so that they can relate?
Yes. Sometimes I do because like I work with a limp, so of course the kids, some of them is curious, they want to know what happened. So like I have to be really picky and choose, like, so sometimes I cannot tell them directly what happened to me because I don't know that, like I don't know if they go and tell the parents.
Well, it's simply, you know, how I would kind of tie that in is the fact that right place, wrong time, because you were at your place of employment. You understand? You're not expecting anyone to come into the shop with guns ablazing and kill people, you know, in lieu of obtaining some money. And I'm gathering this had to be what, over 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And imagine that violence is still prevalent now and is actually exacerbated. Okay. So let's just say if back then it was 1 in 10 incidences like yours that occurred, now it's possibly 8 out of 10. Okay. Yeah. So the likelihood of that happening in today's time is so much more prevalent. So it should definitely be a little bit more relatable to the population of kids, you know, that age group that you're speaking to right now.
Yeah.
You know, so I would think they have a certain level of respect for you, you know, and be, you know, a little bit more open and being able to listen to you, wanting to listen to you, to use you as a mentor, a motivator, right? That you define all the odds. I mean, that is some astounding, remarkable stuff that you've been through at such a young age. And you're still here to talk about it. You're still in your right frame of mind after being in a coma and rehab for 2 years. You understand? That's a lot. You got to give yourself a whole lot of credit, you know, and thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah, I do. Like, believe in me, I do.
You know? And no animosity towards the gunmen or anything like that.
Nah, I don't. Yeah, I just, like I said, it happens. It's in the past. I leave. Because if you sit on and stress, you cannot sit on stress yourself.
Right. Well, I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
So this perhaps was your journey to be a testimony, right?
Yes.
Without trials, you can't have a testimony, and that's a remarkable testimony to share. You know, if you do, you know, community outreach, and speak to young populations of people, I think they would definitely gravitate towards your story. You know, because I mean, what are the likelihood of gunmen come into a shop, kill your dad, kill your best friend, you're a survivor, right? So remorse sets in those instances. You know, you start asking yourself, well, why didn't I die too? You know, why wasn't I killed? You know, people start to believe or feel as though they don't have a reason to live. You know, your father was the focal point of your life. He taught you how to, you know, do some things on a car. You remember that. You went from apprentice to expert in the shop, running the shop. Okay. Like, wow, that's remarkable. And you sit here before us and it's just like, it's nothing. you know, it's just another day, you know, just another day in the life of me, you know, Mr. Donald Turner. Right.
Yeah.
I would definitely.
But how No, but as you said, and you summarized it so eloquently you summarized it, Roxanne, how beautiful his story is. And it really is a testament to the human spirit, you know, the human spirit of, and, you know, there's so many people that would be impacted, would have gone down a different path, would have been drugged up or whatever, or blame everyone for their mistakes or mishaps. But here's a young Black man that's telling his truth and saying that I don't hold any animosity, that this happened in my life. And yet, though I may have my moments of sadness or my moments of reflection, I push and I persevere. And then I pour into my students. And then he teaches students with disabilities. Disabilities. And, you know, it's just remarkable. And I tell you, Donald, I've told you this before this podcast, that your story really touched me. I literally woke up the next day and I was listening to some like meditative messages, and your story, I just put myself in your shoes and I was just like, wow, he's remarkable to overcome so much. I mean, you normally hear about that, but I have never really met someone who have really overcome those adversities back to back, and you did it so remarkably. So you know what, God is blessing you, and he will continue to pour into you, and he's doing it. He definitely is doing it. So we definitely want to thank you so much for your story. Roxanne, what you got to say, girl?
And I'm still in awe. Like, my mouth is dropped, even though you see it closed, because I'm like, that is so remarkable. You know, how many people will come out of that in their sane minds? It's so, you know, I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, it is such, you have to be a strong person to really keep your sanity in check, because you can literally lose it with so much things that we have to deal with and that's going on. And, you know, especially now with the COVID and people dying left, right, and center in front of us, family members, you know, it's a lot. I'm telling you, I'm just like in awe, you know, if I've ever heard a story before, you know. And I just want to ask a question. I know it might be, you know, off topic, but did they ever catch those perpetrators?
Well, they caught one.
Okay.
I went to court. I pointed him out. Then, like, they gave him a life sentence.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So
And
some justice
then-
was served.
And then something must have went down with it. Some paperwork didn't went in or whatever. So he like appeal, he keep appealing, and eventually they let him out.
Wow.
Wow.
They
Wow.
let him out. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how much time did he eventually serve in totality?
I think he served like 6 or 7 years, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
For 2 lives?
Yeah.
Lives? You take 2 lives? Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Now you see why we need reform, justice reform.
Yeah.
We need reform in so many capacities. Well, you know what? For the most part, we just are so grateful for your story. We know it's not an easy story to tell, but it has inspired us, and I know it will touch our listeners. And we just want to thank you so much, Mr. Turner, for your time today, this evening.
Welcome.
And we really wanted this conversation to be an uplifting one, especially now, Roxanne, as you alluded to earlier. So many of us are going through heartache and pain, especially mothers. We put so much, we bear so much. And I know your story is an uplifting story. It's a story of perseverance. It's a story of really and truly what is our legacy? Our legacy of hope, our legacy of never giving up. And I just want to thank you so much for your story. Roxanne, any parting words?
I'm just going to tell you, I am, you know, connected with a lot of different schools and organizations. And if there's ever a time that I can make a recommendation for them to have a motivational speaker, I'd certainly like to recommend you. So I hope we stay in touch, right? And don't hold me till a month or 2 from now. Things happen for a reason, and it may not be, you know, a month or 2 from now, but I certainly will keep my ears to the ground and be able to, you know, offer you a platform to share your story, because I think it's definitely impactful. All right.
Absolutely.
So Donald,
That's what we do here. We network in real time, honey.
Yeah. I definitely want to thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story. You know,
Welcome.
you wanna close us out, because I believe we're at our time, Kamisha.
I feel like we need to pass an offering plate or something, right? No, but I just want to thank you as well. Thank you, Roxanne. You have been so phenomenal these past few weeks as we launched this podcast. This is our 14th episode. I know you hate counting. 14, yes, Donald. This is our 14th episode. We're just so grateful to our listeners. We are so grateful for everyone that really is supporting us. This is grassroots. This podcast really was created out of love and just really wanted to hear these stories. So we just want to thank everyone. Donald, thank you so much. May God continue to bless you in your journey. And again, you guys, you already know. Please subscribe, share this content, share this amazing story of legacy. And what is your legacy? It's beyond financial. It's beyond anything that we really look at and we value. Our legacy is truly how we rise above the occasion. And so thank you so much. Share the episode, you guys. Like, subscribe. Thank you. We'll see you on the next episode.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool.